Okay, here's a video on multiplying matrices. Now there are two types. There are scalar multiplication and regular multiplication. So we'll talk about both of them. The harder one is the regular multiplication. Scalar multiplication is pretty easy. But once you get the hang of it, they're both easy. So let's get into it. First thing we should know is the rows of the first matrix. The first matrix we're doing, the rows of the first matrix must have the same elements as the columns in the second matrix. So for example, here's a first matrix. Let's put any numbers in here. So here we have two rows, and in one row, if you look in one row, there are two elements in this row. So when we make a column, if we're going to multiply, we need to have the same elements in a column. For example, right now, we can multiply like this because there are two elements in the row and there's two elements in the column. So we can actually multiply this. Give another example. So here we have a matrix that is 2 by 3. Remember, the rows come first. In each row there are three elements. So now if we were to multiply a matrix, what do I need in the columns? I need at least three elements. Well, actually I need exactly three elements. So if I had this, you can't do it, because there's three elements in this row, but there's only two elements in a column. So again, the elements in the row, two elements here, must match the elements in the column. So for this one, since there are three elements in the row and two elements in the column, we can't multiply that. So keep that in mind. So let's do an example. Here we have a 2 by 2 matrix, and we're going to multiply it by a 2 by 3 matrix. 2 rows, 2 columns, 2 rows, 3 columns. Now, why can we multiply this? Well, we have two elements in the row, and we have two elements in each column, so we can multiply that. So that's really important to remember. Now, when we actually multiply matrices, we're going to multiply and add. Okay, so we're going to multiply each row with each column. Each element in the row. So let's check it from here. We're going to say -1. We're going to multiply -1 by -7. And we're going to get -7. But we're not done yet. We're going to actually add it. We have to finish the row out. The 2, we're going to multiply the 2 by the 1. And we'll get 2. So far, if we make our new matrix, we're going to have -5. Let's try this again. -1 times 7 is -7, and 2 times 1 is 2. So we multiplied every element in the first row with every element in the first column. And we do it again. -1 now times -5. -1 times -5 is 5. And we're going to plus it by 2 times 6. That's 12. Now we have 17. We're not done yet. -1 times 3. Right, that's -3. And 2 times 8 is 16. Now we have 13. We finished the first row. Let's do the second row now. Every element times every element in the columns. So 4 times 7 is 28. And 0 times 1 is 0. Put 28 down there. 4 times -5 is negative 20. And 0 times 6 is 0. We're almost done. 4 times 3 is 12. And 0 times 8 is 0. And we just made the new matrix. So again, you're going to multiply every element in the row with every element in the column. And you're going to multiply it, the first row, first column, times the first row, first column in the next matrix. Okay, let's do another example. And by the way, why is this impossible? Okay, well, this has 2 elements in the row, and this only has 1 element in the column, so that's why we wouldn't be able to multiply that. So try this. Again, you should pause the tape. So what we want to do is we want to multiply the first column, the first row, with the first column. First row, first column. So it's going to be 2 times 2 and 0 times 3. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 0 times 3 is 0. So we already have our first number in the matrix. So let's complete the first row. 2 times 0 is 0, and 0 times 1 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2, and 0 times negative 2 is 0. First row is completed. What about the second row? 3 times 2 is 6, and 5 times 3 is 15. That's 21. 3 times 0 is 0. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 1 is 5. And, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. And 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. So we get negative 7. Okay, now let's talk about scalar multiplication. Now all scalar multiplication is when we multiply a matrix by a real number, like 1, for example. And all we do is just multiply. We don't have to do that added step of adding. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 5 is 5. And 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. There it goes. So scalar multiplication only has one step. See if you can do this one. Okay, well, we have 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 5 is 10, and 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 6 is 12, and 2 times 5 is 10. So we did scalar multiplication and regular multiplication. Great job.